Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today, coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, where we always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playalog. I hope that all of you guys had some amazing holiday seasons. You're getting ready for New Year's. In this one, we are going to be talking about the latest that was transpiring over that little mini holiday break that we took in regards to Bo, Tucker, and Bregman. Where are their markets at right now, and how does it relate to the Toronto Blue Jays? If you guys are enjoying this content, please make sure to hit that like, smash that subscribe button. If you have the option to do so, hit the hype button as well. And of course, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Let's get straight into it, and let's start with the latest on Bo Bichette. It has been relatively quiet. I'm gonna put that out there, and just have that as an umbrella term for all of this, because to be honest with you, a lot of these individuals, their markets aren't developing like they expected. More on that later. But in terms of Bo Bichette, it feels like the Boston Red Sox are certainly starting to get more into the mix of things.
Yeah, they definitely are. Boston Red Sox, they're hungry this offseason. I said this on a previous podcast. They kind of remind me of the Blue Jays just a couple of seasons ago, where they missed out on a lot of big guys in the prior off seasons, and now they're right there. They're right on the edge. They're third in the AL East with 89 wins. They want to get across the finish line with some of these big free agents. And that includes with, Alex Bregman, maybe a Bo Bichette, maybe a big trade with Ketel Marte. And apparently, according to the Boston Globe's Alex Spear, Bichette is one of the primary targets of the Boston Red Sox. Him, Marte, and Bregman, all primary targets of the Boston Red Sox. So what does that mean for the Toronto Blue Jays? Well, if you look at what the Blue Jays are doing right now, it doesn't feel like Bo Bichette is necessarily a primary target, because all we've been hearing is Kyle Tucker, and it feels like that's the primary target. If the Boston Red Sox are prioritizing Bo Bichette, if they are putting out a serious deal out there for him, if I'm Bo Bichette, I'm going to strongly consider that in the end of the day. If I'm not getting an offer from the Blue Jays, why wait around?
I've been saying that for a while now, actually, right? And there's, I think we were both kind of talking about this earlier, maybe like a month ago, and you were pushing back a little bit, and you said, well, like the loyalty, right? The Bo Bichette's loyalty to Toronto, evenally that's going to wear out, though, right?
Yeah,
eventually
right now,
time is gonna happen, and he's not gonna be loyal anymore, right?
Like, why would I be loyal if all you're doing is pushing for Tucker? I do wonder if they have an offer on the deal. I digress, but like I feel like they're not looking at that right now. They really want to focus on the main fish, which is
Tucker.
The loyalty thing would kind of disappear.
Again, you think about it from Bo Bichette's perspective right here. Does he want to come back to Toronto? He's indicated that he would be interested to. But if Toronto is putting all of their eggs in the Kyle Tucker basket, which is totally something that we want to happen. I want Kyle Tucker to come here. But if they're doing that, and if you're Bo Bichette, like, you can only wait so long.
Right.
And if Boston is going to give you the money that you're looking for, or close to it, or at the very least engage in the conversations with you a little bit more than maybe Toronto or maybe somebody else is, then yeah, you're going to start to think twice about waiting on Toronto and maybe looking over at Boston.
Yeah.
But all of this, of course, ties into what's happening with Kyle Tucker and what's happening with Alex Bregman, because from Boston's standpoint, one of their primary targets is Alex Bregman.
Yeah.
They might be trying to put all their eggs into the Alex Bregman basket, and then Bo Bichette's still waiting for that.
Right.
However, it looks like Bregman and Tucker's market, and I do think to an extent Bo Bichette's market as well, just is not developing the way that any of them would have expected right now.
Yeah, and this all kind of ties back to the fact that there aren't just that many suitors and not many teams willing to pay the money for an Alex Bregman or for a Kyle Tucker. And right now, Kyle Tucker wants $400 million, right? He wants 10 years, 40 million per year. That's the kind of money he wants. But Toronto Blue Jays have been reported the only team that would be willing to dish out that money. But if I'm the only team willing to dish out that money, well, why am I going to dish out that money? The only reason I'm dishing out that money is to be competitive in a market. And if there's no competition in the market, why would I go ahead and waste all that money when I can get you a little bit lower? So that's what kind of the report coming out right now from this sports news article is that Cubs receive a massive update. And this is from a Cubs perspective. And basically the update right here is this from Mark Powell. According to Fansided, it's Mark Powell, is that the longer the Tucker stays on the market, that is going to start to develop even more where, okay, well, we're not going to get that big deal. We're going to keep waiting out for the big deal. We're going to keep waiting out. And if it gets to late January or early February and I'm Kyle Tucker and I'm still not getting my big deal, well, I'm going to have to take a high AAV short-term deal. I'm going to have to do that. And if the Jays are number one in on Tucker, then that means that Bo Bichette is going to be waiting at least another month if Tucker isn't going to sign until then.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the sentence that kind of sums it up for me there is he says, all of that is why we shouldn't expect Tucker to sign anytime soon unless he's chosen to alter his expectations. Right. And I think that's the case with a lot of these people, him, Bregman, and Bo Bichette to an extent as well, right? Because it was only a couple weeks ago that we were discussing Bo Bichette's market isn't developing the way that he expected. All of these guys, Bo, Tucker, and Bregman, they walked in with an expectation. For Tucker, it was 400. For Bo, it was 200 or maybe a little bit more than that. And as of right now, that expectation is just not being met from anybody. So now you're in this kind of weird waiting game where, yes, a team, like theoretically, the Toronto Blue Jays could go, I think, and get Tucker today if they wanted to.
For sure.
But they don't want to because they don't want to go and pay that price tag. They're not willing to do that, right? Yeah, we don't need to as well, right? So they're not willing to do that. And Tucker, he's not willing to come down. And the same thing goes for Bo and for Bregman. So you're in this waiting game right now. Standoff, if you will, where somebody needs to change their expectations. And there's any number of ways that could happen. Maybe Boston goes out and they make a big trade and they bring in Ketel Marte. Well, then maybe that incentivizes Toronto to go out and get one of these guys. Maybe that raises their price tag. Or alternatively, maybe Bo Bichette leaves the board and then Kyle Tucker lowers his price tag. Like, there's any number of ways that this could happen, but it feels like all of it's all tied together right now. And because of that, we're in this standoff.
Yeah, like, here's the thing. If you're Alex Bregman or Bo Bichette, I'm going to look at those two guys right now because they aren't the number one of the offseason. If you're those two guys, you don't want to be the last one to sign. If you're the last one to sign, people and other teams are probably only offering you that 1 year high AAV deal, right? And they don't want the big long contract because they just committed to a big long contract, or there's a team that's not willing to pay that, and you got to take that high AAV and prove it and hit the market next year. That's why it all circles back to Bo Bichette. Like, if they're waiting on Bregman, the Boston Red Sox, and we're waiting on Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, if you have a deal right now, go sign. Go sign that big money deal right now. And if it's the Boston Red Sox, you do it, because if they get Bregman and Blue Jays get Tucker, then essentially, like, okay, I'm gonna have to be the one that takes a short-term deal, not guaranteed money. Well, I don't want to be that guy.
But the problem for Bo is I don't think he's got that deal right now, like that offer, right? He doesn't have the offer on the table. I don't believe, because, and I don't think
have that offer on the table.
I don't think any of these guys really have that offer on the table right now. And I think that what it's going to boil down to, for me, is one of them is going to make the decision that they're willing to move off their expectations, which is signing a short-term deal. Now, I actually believe that the individual most likely to do that would be Bo Bichette, because Alex Bregman's already done his short-term deal, and Kyle Tucker still is Kyle Tucker. And if you're going to get $400 million, this is the only chance that you're going to do it. But Bo Bichette, being in the situation that he's in, I could see him going out and getting that short-term deal, proving that he's the second baseman, which we've talked about before, because those other two guys feel very unwilling to me to step off where they're at.
I can also believe that Kyle Tucker would take the short-term high AV as well. That's what a lot of people are kind of tossing out there, because, again, he wants to get that $400 million. He's a guy that only has the capabilities of getting the $400 million of those guys based on age and based on his 5-tool ability. And if you're not getting it, well, I'm going to kind of just punt this year and hit the market next year after maybe a better season, right?
It's not impossible. I guess it would boil down to how low people are actually going. If nobody's offering you $300 million, then you probably want to do that. I guess I'm assuming that there's got to be a team out there that would be willing to give you 320 or 330, and in which case, like, okay, well, if you're Kyle Tucker, can we come to terms with that? Effectively, they aren't getting what they want, and there's not enough competition right now to drive up their price to get them to where they want to be. And so therefore, you're in this spot where who's going to blink first? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the desperation. Like if the Red Sox, like I said off the top of this video, if you're really desperate, you go get your money, or you go get your guy and pay up the money. Like go do it. Like my guess, I'm assuming it's got to be them. They're kind of doing a shotgun approach, and if they do that, it could be a Bo or it could be a Bregman. And the Blue Jays, you can afford to wait back because you feel confident you can get one of these guys. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a long. Point being, it's going to be a long offseason, everybody. This January month, it's gonna be long coming up.
Yeah, there's no real end in sight here, and I think the biggest problem is I just when you boil it down, there's just not enough serious teams involved in these players.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a team, I might actually want to wait until two of the other guys are off the board, right? Let's just say, for instance, that Bregman goes back to Boston, and let's say Tucker signs elsewhere. Well, now if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, who is in on Bo Bichette?
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, like the Yankees aren't really in.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, we'll get you back then, but now we're gonna get you at probably a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
they're not offering the money. They're not in these like high stake. They're not in the same tier right now. It feels like it's only Boston, Toronto in the same tier of like we're willing to offer this much money. But yeah, you're right. Once those guys leave, you can go even lower than that.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm Toronto, like I'll just keep waiting. But that's how Boston feels, and that's how like if New York is in on this market, I assume that would be how they feel as well. So it's difficult because I don't know how much leverage the players actually have in this negotiation, and that's just simply because there isn't the competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But yeah, as of right now, like I know that a week ago I said I think come January you're going to start to see some stuff. I don't know if that's true anymore, man. Like this could carry into late January, maybe even February. Like we could be starting to hear pitchers and catchers reporting, and these guys haven't signed yet.
Oh yeah, I mean this reminds me a lot of Harper's year and Machado's year, where it was like it was spring training was coming around the corner and nothing was transpiring, and these guys weren't signed yet, and it feels like it's going to happen this year. So Blue Jay fans, like, get ready for a long winter.
Strap in.
Strap in. Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about the latest on Bregman, on Bichette, on Tucker. Are you feeling anxious right now? Are you worried? Are you cool as a cucumber? Hit that like button, smash subscribe, but also hit that hype button if you're able to. $4 a month to become a YouTube member. Shout out thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go.